Let's go next to our caller from the 702 area code. Who's calling today from 702?
Hi, this is Christian. Is this me on there?
Yes, it is. And are we on speakerphone or Bluetooth, Christian?
You were, but now you're on handset.
Genius. I love it.
Awesome. So I know you've got a lot of callers. I'll make it quick, but it is somewhat substantive. Been a
Good.
fan for 10 years. I'm curious on your take on some policies I've recently re-explored and kind of changed my mind on.
Okay.
I've always considered myself kind of, I hate labels, so I don't even like the word moderate because it implies that the truth is in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
But
Which it's often
ultimately,
not,
I
yeah.
try to avoid extremes.
Right.
And recently, I've come to the realization that a lot of preconceived beliefs that I would think I wouldn't, like I'm a hyper-liberal, love politics. Even I think, had been victim of a lot of propaganda and information campaigns or disinformation campaigns. And I'm curious if you've ever thought about nationalizing natural resources, much like Norway does to their oil. Because I was thinking about it. Oil in America, for example, is ran by a handful of families.
Right.
And in countries like Norway, the country actually profits directly from selling the oil itself with no middleman. And you know business. Who in business likes middlemen? And it's kind of a strange concept to think about. I mean, we're already talking about healthcare, right? We're already talking about education. Why aren't natural resources being added to the discussion? Because oil is like $1 trillion plus industry.
Well, I think more than just the size of the industry, I've thought about it because, so what's the argument right now for making the internet a public utility? The argument is that the internet is so fundamental to every aspect of almost everyone's lives that the idea of making it a saleable product for profit starts to become problematic. And I think that would be the reason. I think we should get off of fossil fuels, but to the extent that every aspect of what we do relies on them, why are we allowing for-profit corporations to take advantage of that? Now, the only problem with that is
exactly.
Often, so the argument that a pro-business center-rightist would make is, hold on a second, it was for-profit companies that took the initial risk financially, and often it's more than just a financial risk, to establish the systems to harvest the oil. Therefore, it would be wrong for the government to just come in and take them over. And I'm not completely, I mean, there is some
but
logic to that argument, but that doesn't, to some degree.
Like the subsidies that we employ, essentially, it's like these pharmaceutical companies. It's
yes.
Our tax. Like I've looked into it, even the Bush family.
Right.
The CIA gave George Bush, like he didn't. So it's like to some degree, yes, there's going to be.
Wait, what happened? The CIA gave George Bush what? What did the CIA give George Bush?
Oh, the CIA gave the Bush family their oil start. Probably because he was so invested in the CIA career-wise. Oh yeah, it's a crazy. I watched a documentary on it. But the point of all that is to say, I know that individuals are still going to be. So take Elon Musk even.
Right.
People criticize Tesla because it was birthed through subsidy, but the reality, of course, is everybody wishes they could get a $5 billion subsidy from the government. Not everybody's qualified to, so that doesn't take away from the credit of the achievement of starting the company. But to some degree, when we're talking about the product, the property of the country itself, because Tesla is not the Tesla and the products it produces are not the property of the country just because they gave them a subsidy.
No, and it's not a resource in the same way that oil is. Yeah, right.
Exactly, right. And I'm with you. Off of fossil fuels is long term, ideally, but it's still a huge portion of not just our economy, the international economy. And it, like you said, it just doesn't make sense to me that these people profit. The pharmaceuticals are the most insane example of that, of course, because literally we're funding the research development start to tail end, and then at the end of it, they go, okay, now we're going to rip you off. That's ludicrous.
Yeah, particularly when a lot of the people doing the research went to, public school and they rely on the justice system and law enforcement to enforce contracts and make sure no one steals their stuff. But yeah, I mean, listen, from a practical perspective, Christian, we're going to get off of fossil fuels sooner than we nationalize oil. So I think that we should just put the focus on that at this point.
Well, and not to take too much time, I'm curious because it is very radical, right? That's part of why, and this is, I don't mean to take up too much time, but I'm actually curious about your thoughts on this. So I had a discussion with a friend. Long story short, a lot of people are really feeling Andrew Yang.
Right.
because he seems like a young, ideas-driven guy who's less wrapped up in the politics of it. I
Sure.
actually, to be honest, if I'm being frank, I kind of lean towards Yang because he seems a little more savvy to
Okay.
keep it.
Hello. Okay, that was weird. Well, listen, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say about Andrew Yang. I've talked about him before, but that was weird.